What's going on, guys? Meteorologist Jonathan Kegas with you. This is an edition of Tropics Watch. It's Tropics Watch Live coming at you on a Saturday morning to talk about Arlene. That is now a depression. The 11 o'clock advisory out nice and early from the National Hurricane Center. They had a Hurricane Hunter aircraft in there about an hour or so ago, and really finding what we were talking about if you were with us on News 6 this morning, that this is a shell of a shell. We'll get all into that in a little bit. Just wanted to talk about Tropics Watch for a second. Of course, we're coming at you live on a Saturday morning, but through hurricane season now, you can look for Tropics Watch live every Monday at 11 o'clock in the morning on the News 6 Hurricane app and on the Click Orlando YouTube page. And again, we have interaction as well. So if you post in the comments, if you're watching on YouTube, I will answer your questions live, and we can have that conversation. We can have that discussion. So welcome to everybody on clickorlando.com and on the New 6 Hurricane app, and, of course, on YouTube. If you're on YouTube, go ahead and post in those comments if you have any questions. All right, so let's get to it. Now a 35-mile-per-hour storm. This is what we were talking about, and this is exactly what we were going to show you here. Just before we got on the minute, the absolute really second that the 11 o'clock advisory came out, again very early, because there's really nothing to write home about here. It was pretty clear that this was going to be a depression. It was likely a depression all morning, but again, the 11 o'clock advisory just came out. There the Hurricane Hunter is zipping around. It's heading back to its Air Force base now, and you see that's what it found. A puny 23-mile-per-hour wind gusts around the center. Again, we have thunderstorms trying to develop on the outskirts, if you will, of the circulation, being blown apart by wind shear. We will get all into that as well. This tells the story. This is Arlene. There's really not much. You call this a naked swirl. You can see the low-level circulation for sure. There is just not a lot going for it right now. There's not a lot of thunderstorm activity. There's really none around the center. I'm going to pull out my trusty arrow again. You see where we do have thunderstorms blossoming, kind of on these outer bands here, closer to the Florida Peninsula, just off the southwest coast of Florida. But then you see here, thunderstorms trying to go around. There is the center. One of the ways, well, really the only way that these tropical systems get their intensity is it needs to have thunderstorms wrapped around the center. We don't have that here. These are being completely sheared off by upper level winds, and we also have a ton of dry air. Stand by more for that in just 1 second. Here is, of course, the 11 o'clock advisory, and again, I just wanted to show you the official track. I showed you the satellite with the position and the intensity, and intensity is it's a very strong word because it's not very intense. And again, all of this was to be expected. Just wanted to hop on here again to talk about that we are going to have indirect impacts on the Florida Peninsula still. We are going to have some heavy rain come in as a result of a surge of tropical moisture. We're also going to have heightened rip current risk on the Atlantic side because of that easterly wind. Here's the deal. This is likely, you see it there, there's the 8 o'clock forecast point. You notice we have a circle around that L. That is the depression logo for tropical depression. And then it turns into a remnant low as it moves into the Florida Straits there, just south of the Keys. As it does that, though, it's going to send some tropical moisture up the Florida Peninsula, also the northern edge of Cuba as well. All right. I'm talking about wind shear, but talking about how it looks ugly, and it's just a naked swirl. You can thank this wind shear, and this is going to be something that we're going to watch deeper into the season. One of the calling cards of El Nino, and El Nino is expected, really highly anticipated here by the peak of hurricane season, is to have a very hostile environment, hostile in a bad way, for tropical development in the Gulf of Mexico and in the Caribbean. That's exactly what we have going on here. We have this big trough right in through here. You can kind of see the motion here. We have a little disturbance out here as a result of that upper level system. But what it's doing is it's enacting a lot of wind shear out of the west. So we had that surface circulation. Again, let me go back. I'm going to go warp speed back to this to kind of show you. We have the surface circulation right in here, but all of the thunderstorms are being blown way off. It's never a good thing if you're a tropical system if you're not vertically stacked. I always call it like pancakes. Again, we don't like that because that means the storm has a chance to intensify. But from a storm perspective, in order for these things to really intensify and to get stronger, they have to be stacked like a stack of pancakes, a nice stack on your plate there. So that is something, again, that we are happy that we are not seeing at this present time. So we will take that, and I would love if that continues for the entirety of the season. Again, now I'll get you back to what I wanted to show you. Here are the latest computer forecasts again, and really not much to write home about. Not much has changed, if anything, in terms of the trajectory. And again, this is just going to be kind of like a phantom low that's going to help to bring some increased rain chances to Central Florida and especially South Florida. So I wanted to show you the high-resolution future radar real quick and to kind of pinpoint where those storms are. Hey, Kevin, good morning. He's tuning in from Lakeland on our YouTube channel. We will likely see some more storms in Lakeland today. I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. They're going to favor western areas. So this is at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and there you go with some rocking storms around Orlando. Notice how they kind of dive towards the west, towards the I-75 corridor. So even down by Lake Okeechobee, southwest of Orlando, and then towards Tampa, St. Pete. That's where we're going to keep storms rolling through the evening. That's 7 o'clock tonight now. Most of the rain in Central Florida has shut off. It's kind of like last night in Osceola and DePaul County. Could have some hanging on, and then closer towards St. Pete and Tampa. Tomorrow, here comes all that mess. So you see all this moisture now? This is kind of like what's left of Arlene surging out through the Florida Straits and into the Bahamas. Notice we have some heavier rain right through South Florida as well. A few more scattered thunderstorms on Sunday. If you are living and watching in the Central Florida area, we're still going to be doing a little bit of dodging in terms of your thunderstorm chance, but I do think that chance is going to be a little bit less, a little bit lower than what we're going to see today. In terms of the amount of rain, we're still going to be watching for the potential for some flooding in South Florida. There could be isolated, localized flooding in Central Florida, but notice where the heavier rain is, where you see these brighter pinks and purples towards Lake Okeechobee, Fort Myers, Miami. It shows, at least there from a number perspective, it's not going to be too bad. But again, towards Fort Lauderdale and then just inland, so I wouldn't quite pay attention to the numbers. If you get under one of those thunderstorms, you can pick up several inches of rain. Again, it's not going to be like a tropical event per se, where you're just going to get kind of inundated with all of this heavy rain. But we are going to see, again, these kind of scattered storms kind of just pushing on shore as a result of that tropical system. To wrap things up here, love this. Of course, we just got underway. It's typically a quiet part of the season. It's called the mean season for a reason. The peak of hurricane season typically doesn't roll around until August, September, October. That's when we see more than 80% of our tropical activity. Certainly, we've had nasty storms in June. We, of course, had a named storm. Still have one, technically. It's a depression now, but we have tropical depression, Arlene. But the good news is, in the deep tropics, we have no new development expected over the next several days. A couple of waves down here, but they are nothing to write home about. So we'll keep things nice and quiet. We'll watch this guy just in case it wants to try to do something funky here. Right in through this, you see the thunderstorms kind of blossoming into Haiti, Dominican Republic. So we're going to watch that with that kind of upper level low that's ripping apart Arlene right now. We'll see if that can generate anything over the next couple of days. You always have to watch, especially with the water temperature as juiced as it is right now in the Atlantic. But nonetheless, we're looking pretty good in the short term anyway. Alrighty, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. This has been Tropics Watch Live. Again, I know it's a Saturday today, but through hurricane season, you can look for these live interactions on YouTube. If you have the Pinpoint Hurricane app, you can get these videos live every Monday at 11 o'clock. And if you are subscribed to our YouTube channel, if you're not, please do. It'd be awesome to have this conversation with you as we roll through hurricane season. Again, Tropics Watch Live is going to happen every Monday at 11 o'clock in the morning through hurricane season, and then as needed. Certainly, if there's something out there, we're going to talk about it. You're going to get the best analysis on this YouTube channel and on the Pinpoint Hurricane app and on clickorlando.com through the season. And then if there's something out there, we'll talk about it. Of course, we're going to make sure we break everything down. The other thing, too, is that, again, as the season rolls on, on these Mondays, we're kind of look ahead for the week. We'll look at Saharan dust. We'll look at if there's anything that long-range models are kind of hinting at as well. So there's going to be a lot of breakdown, a lot of science, and a lot of meteorology. So if you're interested in that, we have you covered. And, of course, we're going to talk about how anything could impact you, hopefully, across the U.S. and across Florida, that nothing is going to impact us this year. But, of course, we know that there's always that likelihood, even when there's an El Nino, which typically means a lower season. It only takes one. That's the message I'll leave you on our first Tropics Watch live of the season. Again, we'll be back for episode number 2 on Monday morning at 11 o'clock in the morning on the Click Orlando News 6 YouTube channel on the Pinpoint Hurricane app. Download that. It's a free download. It's the best hurricane app on the market. Great tracking tools on that. Great push alerts from expert meteorologists as well. And we'll catch you on Monday morning at 11 o'clock. Thanks, guys, for tuning in.